Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Thursday. Welcome to Tino Talks. Hope everybody enjoyed their work week so far, and I am sure that everybody is looking forward to Friday and the week being over, myself included. So I'm going to start with something I was talking about the other day that I feel is very important that we need to put in place into our government and into our political system. So I was talking about voter suppression and state IDs. Now, for those of you who have been following the presidential election, I'm sure you know about all of the controversies and things that happened during the primaries. Different polling locations were shut down. Some people needed IDs to vote, weren't able to because they didn't have IDs. Now, my personal feeling is that every single person who is 18 or older, who is legally here in the United States, who is a United States citizen, should automatically get a state-issued ID so that they can vote. Because if you look in the Constitution and you have all of those things and all of those requirements, then you're able to vote. But then there's this loophole that you have to have a state ID, and to my knowledge, there is nowhere in the Constitution that says you need a state ID to vote. So what I'm trying to propose is to give everybody that is 18 or older a state-issued ID, maybe through some sort of voucher program if they don't have the money to get it. There are a lot of different ways to go about it, and I myself am still trying to think of ways to go about it because it's a little different from having a driver's license. I look at that as a privilege, but the state ID, like I said, it's something that's very fundamental and something that I think that everybody in this country, that is 18 or older should have, and I think it would also help with numerous other things, like when people get pulled over and they don't have any ID at all. That way you know who the person is, and you will actually probably help the police out, law enforcement in general, just because it cuts out a lot of red tape and the hassle of finding out who the person is. So, that's something that I'm really passionate about and that I'm advocating for right now. We also have something very interesting that I read today. So I live in the state of Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, born and raised. So this is very sad. I was looking at the top 10 lowest, so the top 10 worst states as far as infrastructure goes. From CNBC, Crumbling America was the name of the article, and Massachusetts came in number 9. Now, basically, there's a point system, so out of 350 points, Massachusetts got 132, which is really not good at all. Now, there are a bunch of different problems going on with this. The state is racing to repair all of these broken things, like the Longfellow Bridge, which is undergoing a $3 million restoration. More than half of the bridges in Massachusetts remain deficient or worse. What really upsets me about this is I see countless electronic tolls going up all around the state, and those go up so quick and so fast because when it has to do with tickets, speeding, catching someone going through a red light, they put it right up there. But when it has to do with you and your car and driving around, it takes them weeks, months, years sometimes just to fix a road and to fix a bridge. And I feel like the priorities aren't straight as far as that goes. It's just really sad for me to hear that, especially in this state. But I see it all around me all the time. I mean, I drive, I swerve through potholes, I swear to God, that look like sinkholes. Okay, so, and I hate driving over bridges anyways. It's a little bit of a phobia of mine, so hearing this just makes it a lot worse. They also talked about Vermont. Vermont was number 10, so it scored a little bit higher than we did, 139 out of 350. They're saying that it's because they lack a major international airport, which I can see and understand. And they also don't ship very many goods from Vermont. A third of their bridges are defective as well. So to go into a little bit deeper, deficient bridges, 52% in the state of Massachusetts. The average commute to work is 28.3 minutes in Massachusetts, and 20-year water system needs $7.7 billion, I believe, to be kept up is what that number is for. So now the next thing that I want to talk about is another Massachusetts, not just Massachusetts, but this part in particular has to do with Massachusetts law. So the tax pilot program, if you guys aren't familiar with that, basically the Massachusetts legislator sent Baker a road and bridge funding bill with a provision directing the administration to apply for federal funding to test a new tax on drivers based on miles traveled. So Baker signed the bill on Wednesday. Baker, as expected, vetoed the pilot program. So the legislation cannot override his veto because formal legislation is concluded for the year, probably, as most of you know. The point of the program would have been to figure out whether a vehicle's miles traveled tax would work, its impact, and how to best collect the info. If it went well, lawmakers could have considered replacing the gas tax with the mileage tax. So, I guess, it's exciting in a way, like if you don't travel a lot and you're like, oh yes, no gas tax. But there are downfalls to it, and I do see both sides of it. So, the supporters of it, they're saying it would create a way to raise money to fund public transportation infrastructures, which we were just talking about before with the bridges and the roads, as cars become more efficient and use less gas. So, I don't know. I kind of look at this as, oh, gas is going down. The price of gas is going down. How else can we get money out of people? I mean, I guess that's the cynical side of me, the glass half empty side of me. Who knows? But, what's interesting about that is the people that oppose it said lawmakers were unlikely to repeal the gas tax and would simply tax more residents. Understandable. So, with that being said, Governor Baker had said, I would never support a vehicle miles travel tax unless I was absolutely sure it was not going to create an additional burden on drivers in Massachusetts, especially on drivers in parts of the Commonwealth where there is not a lot of public transportation that's available. Myself, being from Western Massachusetts, where it's very rural, there really is no public transportation out there at all, which I'm not going to get to right now. That's a whole separate issue, but it really does need to be addressed. Anyways, a little more on that. So a new federal fund will provide money for states to do these type of pilot programs. I know that Oregon and California are already testing similar taxes. And Baker said, quote unquote, let's see what we can learn from the folks who are doing this in other states. Now, I actually agree with him on this. Let's see how it works out and go from there. You know, it's kind of like the old saying, I don't want to learn from my own mistakes. I'd rather learn from other people's mistakes. I mean, that's why we teach children, kids, adults history, right? So we don't repeat our mistakes. So, and then finally on this subject, we have Transportation Secretary Stephanie Pollock, who had said, we're really focusing on ways we can encourage people to voluntarily choose to change their travel behavior as opposed to something like a tax, which is more like a stick than a carrot. I really like the end to that, which is more like a stick than a carrot. Because, you know, you dangle the carrot and it's got that incentive, like, you know, Bugs Bunny trying to nibble at it. So, yeah. All right. Now we are on to fracking. So for those of you who do not know, and I'm sorry I keep looking down on my notes, fracking, to be exact, okay, because I don't want to get anything wrong here for those of you who don't know what fracking is the process of injecting liquid at high pressure into subterranean rocks, boreholes, etc., so as to force open existing fissures and extract oil or gas. Now, okay, there's a weird angle to this. Fracking is running for president. Now, fracking has been a huge issue throughout this campaign, especially on the Democratic side, when Senator Sanders and Secretary Clinton were debating. Courtney Loper, who works for fracking, I'm not sure if there's an exact company that does it, but she said, it's a presidential year, so we thought we could try to integrate ourselves into the conversation. Oh, that's nice. It's a presidential year. We already have enough going on in our minds, so let's just throw our message in there, right? I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's kind of taking advantage of the people at a very vulnerable time, but that's just my personal opinion. But it is something that has been brought up in debates, and I'm sure will be brought up again before we vote for the next president. So, you know, people say disadvantages to fracking. Fracking uses huge amounts of water, which must be transported to the site at significant environmental cost. Worries that it can cause small earth tremors. And environmentalists say potentially carcinogenic chemicals used may escape and contaminate groundwater around the fracking site itself. But industry says pollution incidents are the result of bad practice rather than an inherently risky technique. So you have both sides right there. Frick and frack. I wonder if that's where that phrase came from. I don't know, I'll have to look it up one of these days, right? So, the federal government is refusing to ease up on marijuana, and the DEA still wants to keep marijuana a Schedule I drug, which for those of you who don't know, means that there's no medicinal purposes for marijuana. And just to give you an idea of what a Schedule 1 or Class A Schedule 1 drug is, there are things like heroin, LSD, ecstasy, basically things that the government deems have no medical value. So, for research or any other purposes. But here's something interesting to know. The plant itself is Schedule 1, but the plant has 2 extracts that have been approved for the treatment of medical conditions. So that's kind of a catch-22, and I'm guessing they're talking about the THC and some of the other oils, maybe the THC and the hemp. I'm not sure. I know THC is one of the chemicals that they are talking about. So I don't know. Last poll, 100 million people have tried marijuana, and that has quadrupled since 1992, I believe is what I heard, which is no surprise to me, because when I walk around and I see people, especially talking about marijuana, it's a much more open conversation. My views on marijuana are that it's a lot safer than alcohol. Do I think it should be regulated? Absolutely. Do I think that people should use it responsibly? Absolutely. Just like they would with alcohol. Do I think it should be legalized? I do. And the reason I say that is because I feel that alcohol physically is much more worse for you than marijuana. That's my own personal feelings and my own personal beliefs. So, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like, we move one step forward and then 3 steps back, and it really frustrates me, Now we have NATO is concerned by the tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and the NATO official, there was a NATO official who came out. He couldn't say who he was, and he really wasn't supposed to talk, but he came out to make this statement saying that Russia had provided no proof of its accusation that Ukraine sent saboteurs to carry out attack in Crimea. Ukraine's president has ordered the army to be on combat alert on the country's de facto borders with Crimea and on the front line in eastern Ukraine following Moscow's accusations. There's just so much going on out there right now. I'm not even going to weigh in. I'm just going to kind of throw it out there for you guys to process. So, alright, let's go on a little bit of a lighter note. So, we have Green Day, who just released a new single called Bang Bang. I have not heard it yet, but I've heard it's good. They are dropping a new album called Revolution Radio. It's due on October 7th. Huge Green Day fan. I have been for years. I really love 90s alternative, but I'm a music lover. I love all types of music. So, let's see. We also have Ocean's 11 reboot. Now, it's going to be an all-female cast, and so far they're closing deals with Sandra Bullock, Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Rihanna. I didn't know Rihanna could act. I didn't know she ever acted before. Let's see. Helen Bowman Carter, Mindy Kaling, and Nora Loom, a.k.a. Aquafina. Sorry, I'm looking at this like, Aquafina. So, They're going to start shooting by October in New York City. I see this trend happening, you know, with if it was an all-male cast, now it's an all-female cast. Good luck to them. I mean, I personally am kind of sick of remakes and reboots. It's like, come on, think of something original. There are so many good stories out there. There are tons of video games and books that haven't been made into movies that could be made into great movies. I mean, concepts that are even already out there instead of making the same thing over and over again. Which brings me to my next point. So, Suicide Squad is sitting at $326 million worldwide. Now, conventional wisdom says it's probably going to drop about 60 to 65% this next weekend. But who knows? Because you know what? It's not a remake, and it's not part of a franchise. Well, it is part of a franchise. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but it's not a remake, and it's not, you know, like Hunger Games Part 3 or the 7th Harry Potter movie. It's kind of in its own category, and I actually think that it's not going to drop that much. I think it's going to kind of stay steady and at an even pace, but that's just my guess. MIA, if you know who she is, you know, she had that awesome song, what was it called? Paper Planes, I believe. I'm not going to sing for you right now, but she actually just dropped a new song too. It's called Bird Song for her forthcoming album, AIM, which is due out September 9th. That's something that I'm definitely looking forward to listening to. I'm also looking forward to whenever Lady Gaga is going to come out with new music, but who the heck knows with her, because she's all over the place. So, here's my segue into Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is apparently talking with Taylor Kinney. If you know anything about them, they were together for a couple of years, got engaged, broke up. Past couple of days, all over the TV and on the web, they were saying that she was spotted with Ray Liotta, and they thought that they were on a dinner date. Who knows? I mean, if that's the case, I can see why Taylor Kinney ran back there, and he was probably like, really? Look at him, and look at me. Who do you want, sweetie? But honestly, I think that they're probably talking about movies, scripts, or something to do with that, because I know Lady Gaga has been doing more acting. So, all speculation, but best to both of them, and I hope they get back together. Gaga and Taylor Kinney. And as far as Ray Liotta goes, hey, you were great in Goodfellas, buddy. So, yeah, alright. Hey, it's almost the weekend, and, you know, just to give you guys a little closing here, I just want to go through some numbers. So, general four-way poll, Rasmussen reports margin of error is plus or minus 3, Clinton at 43, Trump at 40, Johnson at 8, and Stein at 2. The spread, Clinton plus 3. We have an online polling, general election, another four-way from Reuters, Clinton 40, Trump 35, Johnson 7, and Stein 3. That has a spread of Clinton plus 5. We have another online poll from Reuters again, and this is just a two-way between Clinton and Trump, which has Clinton at 42, Clinton at 40, Trump at 35. I'm sorry, this is another four-way. Johnson 7, Stein 3, Clinton plus 5 on this. General election, Reuters again. Clinton 42, Trump 36. Clinton spread is +6. And then, interestingly, Iowa, 2 polls from Suffolk University. So the two-way with Clinton and Trump, Clinton 40, Trump 41. Trump +1 obviously in the spread. And then the four-way from Suffolk University for specifically Iowa has Trump at 37, Clinton at 36, Johnson at 6, and Stein at 3. The spread +1 for Trump, and the margin of error was ±2 on that. So, kind of a longer show than I usually do today, but I wanted to get everything in as much as possible. Anyways, I'm always looking for your comments, questions, anything you would like to know about. I'm here for you guys, and I do this for you guys because I love reporting. I love getting my message out there and my thoughts out there. And I just want to let you guys know that anything that you want to do, do it. Seriously, if you have a goal, please stick up for yourself and go for it. Be you. Don't ever try to be somebody else. Being you is the most important thing in this world that you can do. Do not let labels put you down. Do not let what you see on the internet put you down. Don't let what other people say put you down. As long as you are comfortable with yourself, that is the most important thing. And I just really try to drive that into people's heads. We're all different. Nobody's perfect. We need to respect each other, and we need to come together so that we can make this country stronger. I'm not going to say great again, and I'm not going to say that we are weak, but I feel that there is always room for improvement. Always. And we can always be teachable. All of us need to remain teachable, because once you start thinking that you know it all, your mind becomes closed. So I just really want to kind of drill that into you guys' heads. You know, I always try to remain teachable. I know that I don't know everything. This for me is a work in progress, you know, and like I said, I do this for you guys because I want to get my message out there. I want to get the news out there in as much of a non-biased way as possible, and just to make it fun, you know. So again, I hope you guys enjoy, and please, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, rsd87@live.com, or drop your comments below. And I hope you guys have an awesome weekend and enjoy your Thursday. So, take care.